and I quote, I'm confused then of what VRBO was saying about refunding taxes due to no travel ban placed by the government. Yes, if there is no refund, then obviously we want to credit. Okay, so you admit there, VRBO, you were getting, I don't know where you were getting your information, some of the things you were saying that were holding me, expecting me to give you a refund when VRBO wasn't telling you I should be giving you a refund. It was an option up to me. And I gave you ample time to use the credit. I was a stickler to September 30th or whatever date it was. But you wanted, as this was unwinding or unfolding, you wanted a refund and you were determined to get a refund. And you pushed it out, since you couldn't get that, you pushed it out to February and or December, and then you pushed it out to February. And you did admit that I was willing to go out further than 6 months based on availability. Well, my condo is, it's, I don't know if you realize it or not, but Greenlinks is zoned as a hotel. It has nightly rentals. And that is, so, with all that said, I tried to make a good faith offer to you in a sense of a credit. I made a good faith offer to you in the case of a settlement. I only received $14.49 out of this. So if you want, well, my question to you is, are you suing also the state of Florida and also VRBO for the fees that they took out and paid?
Do I need to answer that of who I'm suing?
Well,
I'm not suing anybody but Mr. Klein, but I don't know.
I didn't receive that money.
That
Why
has
are
to
you
do with
suing
it.
me for
No, hold on. No, I'll take that as an objection. The objection is
Okay.
sustained. This is, the between you and Mr. Klein.
Okay.
All right, but I understand your question, Mr. Klein. Please continue.
I could ask that again?
No,
Oh,
no, because because I said what I'm dealing with today is between the Smiths and you.
Okay.
If the Mr. and Ms. Smith do want to sue somebody else, that's a separate matter that I can't address today.
okay. Your comment about additional fees, I didn't ask for any additional fees. When I gave you a credit, there were no other attachments to that. So I don't understand that.
Can I comment on that?
Well,
Sir?
you can respond to a question.
Okay.
What was the question, Mr. Klein? And then, ma'am, I will give you an opportunity when he is
Okay.
on ultimately to present a response. Mr. Klein, what's your question, sir?
Okay, what additional fees are you saying I asked for?
When I have a text, it's still on my phone, I've saved it. When I asked if I could bring my grandson, you said, I do not rent out to spring breakers. My credit is to you only based on availability. You will be required to purchase renter's insurance, pay a refundable damage deposit and a cleaning fee, which I had already paid all of that and was never refunded.
You stated before you were refunded.
I was refunded the damage deposit only.
And you should have been refunded the $79 in the cleaning fee from VRBO. I don't get that money. That goes, so I don't have damage insurance. I mean, it goes to VRBO. Taxes came out of that. So yes, if you got a refund from them for $300 of a damage deposit, if you were to use the condo, I would have expected that, but and it would have been refundable. It wasn't an additional cost on top of that. So, So, so my property was made available to you during the 6 months or whatever period?
That's the question. It was the
Excuse
property
me?
made available? If I understand your question, Mr. Klein, you were asking her, was
Yes.
the property made available to the Smiths during that
Yes.
6-month window?
No. It was not.
Why do you say that?
As I stated before multiple times, I asked you several times to allow me to book some dates for my son and his friends to come and for myself and my grandson to come, and you refused.
And what period was that? For what period? I'm not saying when you asked, I'm saying.
Well,
when
the text on my phone, when I asked about my grandson, was August 10th. And in July, beginning of July, I attempted to rent it for my son, to make arrangements to rent it for my son. So in July and August. And you denied both times.
It was available.
Maybe it was, but you refused to let me use it.
Did the rationale of your 18-year-old son and his friends coming down have like opted me not to, or stop you from using it?
My son is 30.
Well, you stated.
You never asked me. Excuse me. I'll wait till it's my turn, sir. Sorry.
Please.
You stated kids. You know, I'll just let my grandson and his friends. That's why I made the comment about spring break. I think that's all, Your Honor.
All right. So, Mr. Klein, that was really sort of your cross-examination, if you will, of Mrs. Smith. So it's still the plaintiff's case at this point. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, was there anything else you wanted to present at this time? Not a rebuttal, but anything that you want to present. Mr. Klein can go, and then you can have a rebuttal.
Yeah. Well, I do have, although it might be null and void because he did offer us the credit, but VRBO right on their website, it says what they're doing as part of the COVID-19 emergency policy. It says VRBO is refunding 100% of the money it makes through traveler service fees when someone must cancel, which was what they refunded me, which was $300, which leaves me with the $1,900 and something that I'm suing for. It says whether the cancellation is government mandated or because you're prioritizing the health of your family or loved ones. It says we are asking partners, which would be Mr. Klein, to offer a full credit for flexible stay dates within the next year at no additional cost. If the traveler is unwilling or unable, we advise our working partner on an acceptable refund, which is 100% or 50%. They recommend it.
They do. Okay.
They do. And what I have, and it's in some of the court papers that I did send in with the case, was that Mr. Klein told me he was VRBO, his unable, they would not let him refund me, which was not the case. That was his choice. And he offered the 6-month credit. And I did know that I was not, if he did not agree to give me the refund, that yes, I was not entitled to it because of the 30 days, but yes, he could have given me the refund, but he did opt to give me the 6-day credit, which I did accept. And I did ask in July, I said, my son and a couple of his friends would like to come down and use the condo. He never asked me how old my son was. He never said anything except that, no, it has to be you. I rented it to you. And I, like I said, told him before, originally, it wasn't me staying there anyway. I never was going to stay there, but he told me no. So that's when we went, kind of, put our thinking caps on. What could we use it for summertime? Because it wasn't something that my husband and I would do, is go to Florida in the summer when we're there in the winter. And that's when we said, my grandson's turning 18. He's graduating from high school. We'll take him down there. And I have the text, and it is in the court papers that I sent, where I said to him, I will be with him. And what is a spring breaker? What are you saying? Do you have age restrictions? And I've never heard from him since, except that I've reached out to him on the VRBO app, which unfortunately, early on in our communication, he insisted I not communicate with him on that app, which I feel at this point there was a reason behind that, but maybe not, because the attorney that I reached out to said, no, you should be communicating through that app so you have record. And that's when I did start emailing him through the app again, saying that my husband and I now would use it if we could, because he had refused me to use it with my son and use it with my grandson. And that's when he said, well, now you're timed out. You know, the 6 months is over.
I have a quick question. The second request, the one where you want to use it with your grandson.
Yes.
What date were you seeking to use it for? Now, you didn't send the request. But
There wasn't any specific dates. I just said that I wanted to bring him. So it was whatever was open. And I did, you know, I could look on the VRBO app and see that he had open dates definitely in July and August. And when my husband and I wanted to use it again in like February, March, whatever, it was kind of open. Like I was trying to be, you know, make it easy on him. Like we'd like to use it for the 6 days.
Okay.
I never got to that point of getting dates or even communicating dates with him because he just shut me off both times that no, we couldn't use it because of who was coming. My son, because I wasn't going to be there. He never asked me how old he was. My son's 30 years old. He's a police officer. He's not gonna, I never said once to him, I'm sending people down there to, you know, rough you up or whatever he's trying to say. My husband and I, nurses, were professional people. I don't know where he's getting that when I was just trying to make use of the credit.
I understand. All right. Anything further, Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
No, just like I said, VRBO, you know, I know Mr. Klein is saying he only got this amount and that amount. I don't know what kind of, you know, contract he had with VRBO, but they refunded to us what they keep from us, which was $300. Whether, you know, Mr. Klein, you know, had said when we were on a phone call that, well, some of that money went to county taxes, but I don't know why I would have to go to the county and sue them for taxes that went on his property. You know, this is money I paid to him. And like I said, in my investigation, he actually, I believe, was cited by the county because he was, you know, using it as a hotel and a rental, and he did not have the proper permits to do that. So no, that's all I have to say.
All right. All right, Mr. Klein?
Yes, Mrs. Smith, you keep bringing up VRBO about their 3 recommendations, which I did choose one of them. The words you use are preferred and recommended. That was up to me to choose one. I chose a full credit and you accepted it. And I used a period of 6 months, which I honored. It was never an open offer. It was never meant to be transferable. The reason why, and you just mentioned to Judge Brown that you contacted me in July and August about you used the word initially was kids. Somebody was graduating, and now you say it was 3 30-year-olds. Well, when I heard the words kids and the tone of the way the conversation was going, I felt I was being threatened. You were just going to send people down there and they're going to have a good time. Then our conversations did break off. The condo was totally available. I would have gladly let you use it. I would have let you use it up until, I guess, until it wasn't available. But I was threatened by you.
Oh.
And I did.
Let me stop for just a moment. Number one, Mr. Klein, address your comments to me, because once again, I said this is not a conversation between the two of you. It's a conversation to me, so I understand the facts of the case, okay? Ms. Smith, I am going to ask you to refrain from, reacting this way. I will give you an opportunity to respond, okay? Thank you both. Mr. Klein, please address to me.
Okay, so no specific dates, Mrs. Smith just admitted, were given to me to use the condo or the credit. So the conversation just, went downhill, and I was uncomfortable going any further. So when the 6 months ran out, I felt I made a reasonable attempt to make right a bad situation that we were all out of control. It was out of all of our control.
Okay. Anything further, sir?
No, that'd be all.
I do have one quick question, Mr. Klein. You referenced specifically an executive order by the governor. What is the, do you have the executive order number or the date it was issued?
Yes.
I have access to all of them. I would just like to see it.
Okay. Bear with me.
Because as you might imagine, there were dozens of emergency orders issued by the governor throughout.
Okay, it's number 20-87.
Got it. Yep, I see it.
And if you, the part I was referencing.
I'll find it. I promise I'm a fast reader. Give me just one moment. All right. Looks like it was extended until May and then it expired, the prohibition. Okay.
There was an exception in there, Judge? Did you say
yes, the exception was that, the exception was made to any properties that the initial date was on or before March 28th. I did see that.
Yes, that's, I think I mentioned.
Yes, sir, you did that.
That
rental stays where guests are currently staying or have booked to stay and are scheduled to check in no later than March 28th. So anything that was, a check-in date before March 28th was exempted from the issuance of the executive order. But I was also looking to see how far that ban extended and when it ultimately ended to see when that credit may have been available, because obviously the credit's not available if the executive order prohibits the use of vacation properties like that. So I just wanted to see how far that went out. It went until May. Okay. The beginning of May. All right, Mrs. Smith, did you have something you wanted to say in rebuttal?
Yeah, and never once did we threaten Mr. Klein or act in a threatening way or anything like that. Never. I paid for something that we were unable to use beyond our control. He agreed to give us a credit. We attempted several times to use the credit. And each time he had a reason that made no sense of why we couldn't use it. I know that VRBO was giving special advertising and certain things to people that use their site if they gave credits. And I don't know if that was, some reason why Mr. Klein agreed to give us the credit, but I don't know if he ever intended on letting us use the credit, because you can see right on their app that there were there was plenty of time available. And never once did I say I had kids that were coming unsupervised, that they were going to wreck the place or anything like that. That's ridiculous. And I made it known to him when I tried to, talk about bringing my grandson. Number one, my grandson's 18, but that I would be with him. It would have been a gift for me to bring him. And before that, like I said, I tried to use it for my son and some of his friends, and they're all adults and they're all police officers. So if he felt threatened by anything like that, that has nothing to do with me. It was never presented to him like that.
Okay. All right, anything else from either side?
No, just that, like I said, my husband and I were willing, it was like a 7-week period. We just wanted to be able to use the credit. We paid for it. Sure. The people that we rented it for in the first place, one is no longer living, and they were coming for a specific thing, and there was no reason for those 3 people to ever go there again after that time period. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Klein, anything further?
No, the thing about the kids and our 30-year-old police sons and nephews, my intent was to make whole Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I tried that. If VRBO, if she saw credits on VRBO, they weren't my credits. They weren't. I didn't get anything out of this from VRBO. If she saw other availability at other resorts, her contract was with me, not with VRBO and other locations. So
it sounds like it was actually both. There was part of it was with VRBO and part of it was with you.
Yes, it's a platform. It's to connect her and I. But no, I don't have anything further.
All right. I'm prepared to make a determination at this time. Needless to say, March of last year was a pretty bizarre time for all of us. It was right about that time the Supreme Court ordered that we just shut the doors to the courthouse, which we just don't do. We've done it for hurricanes, but it's usually for a matter of, a couple of days, a week or two at most. And, we went months without any in-person proceedings. And so everyone was sort of scrambling to decide how to deal with the situation. And there's no question in my mind that both parties in this case were attempting to make the best of a terrible situation. It was clear that Mr. and Ms. Smith, through no fault of their own, were unable to use the original booking. And Mr. Klein, it was clear that you were trying to accommodate your guests as best as you could under the circumstances. But at the end of the day, like I said at the beginning of this, I have to take what is the evidence before me and compare it against the law and then make a determination. And the law that governs this instance is the law of contracts. Now, no one has actually presented any sort of written contract to me. It seems it's sort of an oral contract, if you will. I understand it's electronic, but it's the same effect as a handshake, if you will, because I don't see any written contract that's been entered into evidence. The only thing that everyone seems to agree upon when it comes to cancellation is that within that 30-day window, if you cancel within 30 days, there's a zero refund. There doesn't appear to be any indication by anybody that part of this contract had some sort of allowance for the legal term is called force majeure. It's forces beyond your control, acts of God, like a hurricane or a pandemic, that would allow for a refund if the cancellation is within those 30 days. There doesn't seem to be that exception within the contract. And while VRBO potentially could have mandated that their partners issue refunds in order to continue to do business with them, they opted not to. They strongly urged it, they strongly recommended it, because it's good business practice to do so. It's the right thing to do by their customers. But that's functionally the equivalent, not directly, but as an analogy, it's somewhat similar to, say, a restaurant, where something happens, a drink gets spilled, something happens, and they offer, a free meal or a free dessert, something like that. It's an offer of goodwill by a business that they're not required to do, because nothing in the contract offered that. And so that's what Mr. Klein did, is that he offered some sort of unrequired compensation for the circumstances, which you were unable to take advantage of for one reason or another. And it seems like the reason, frankly, is a miscommunication between the parties. That it's quite clear to me Mr. and Ms. Smith were not threatening Mr. Klein with anything. They were trying to take advantage of the credit. But Mr. Klein has clearly misunderstood their intentions, and that's why you weren't able to make those arrangements. But at the end of the day, as a matter of contract law, Mr. Klein was not obligated to do anything, because the contract said if you cancel within those 30 days, you're not entitled to a refund. And that is why I'm denying the plaintiff's claim, simply because as a matter of contract, he wasn't obligated to do it. So, I'm sorry for the circumstances, I truly am. But that's gonna be my ruling.
Okay, I respect it. It was a matter of principle for me. I would rather have nothing than take half, and it was a matter of principle.
I completely understand. I said I don't disagree with your position. I just have to follow the law, and I said, and the law of contract prevail.
Thank you.
So I find in favor of the defendant. I will issue a judgment today.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, folks. Mr. Klein, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Tommy, I'll get you a judgment right away.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. So do I get something?
Yes, I'm going to issue a judgment and mail it to both parties.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Tommy, did you need any? There was the first case where there were the documents. I'll print them out, mark them as composite one, and get them to you.
Okay.
All right, anything further?